Hi, I'm Mark McVeigh. Um, for my JSTOR review, I actually looked at three articles having to do with labor relations and politics in the Pacific Northwest. The first two dealt specifically with Bunker Hill mine strikes and labor activity in the late 19th century up in the Silver Valley in Idaho. The first article was by William Gabori, a Southern Oregon University professor. He wrote this in 1967. And his take on the labor unrest there was he looked at it very much from labor's point of view, which I thought was interesting. And that's what you see a lot, I think, in the 60s is when you start seeing a very pro-labor bent in a lot of research. He utilized mainly U.S. government labor relations reports that were done in the 20s and 30s. And then also he relied heavily on local newspapers such as the Spokesman Review, and papers up in Kellogg and Wallace. His take was basically that the strikes and labor unrest occurred up there in the Silver Valley for several reasons. The most obvious was just because of this bad pressure by the Bunker Hill mine and to do a lot of things like they lowered wages from $3.50 an hour to $3 an hour, and they actually laid some people off in December for about 30 days with no warning, and there wasn't really much reason given for either of those. So it just looked very much like it's all labor's issue. Labor's in the right. The second article I looked at was by Catherine Aiken, and she had this is written in 1993. She had the advantage of actually going through Bunker Hill Mines papers. Actually, the company had gone out of business by 1981, and their papers were donated to the University of Idaho. She was really the first person to go through those, and she uncovered some really interesting information. So you can see things from a little bit more from Bunker Hill Mines' point of view, in that first of all, the layoff in the middle of the winter was due to that was their response to fight railroad price increases. So they were under a tremendous amount of pressure from the railroad. The panic of 1893, silver prices were very low, and they'd also instituted a lot of new technology, and that had actually reduced the need for labor at the Bunker Hill mine. And according to her, that's really the main reason why there was some labor strife and unrest. And all this culminated. There was a shootout in Burke, Idaho, between some Buffalo soldiers, and they actually declared martial law in the Silver Valley for a while in that area, and that was just very interesting. The last article I read was by Eckhart Toy, and his article is on the Silver Shirts, who I wasn't familiar with at all, but it's basically a kind of a Trump-esque movement that he called kind of pro-fascist and things, and he talked a lot about it being an anti-radical hysteria that was perpetrated against labor unions in the Pacific Northwest and elsewhere in the 1920s and 30s. I thought that was also very interesting. Most of his research, again, was done either reviewing journal articles or newspaper clippings, so not a lot of real firsthand information on that, which I thought was interesting. But all three really interesting articles that I think will help me in my research as I move along. Thank you very much.